Welcome to Birth at Work, the podcast where we dive into the real, unfiltered stories of what it's actually like to navigate pregnancy, birth, and early parenthood while building a career. I'm your host, Chrislyn Powell. Each episode, we sit down with working parents who share their honest experiences, the victories, the setbacks, the moments of doubt, and the strategies that actually work. Because let's be honest, most workplace policies weren't designed with pregnancy and new parenthood in mind. And it's time we talked about what that really means for the millions of us trying to grow families while growing our careers. We've got Hannah here today on the podcast, and I just love these episodes. These are an opportunity for us to get to know fellow moms and to learn a little bit about you, Hannah, about what it's like having a career and then also having children, showing that you can do both and sharing a little bit about what that behind the scenes looks like. So without further ado, can you share a little bit about yourself, your background, and why you're here with us today?
Yeah, so my name is Hannah. I'm 32. I'll be 33 in August. I keep forgetting. And so I have two kids. I have a little older than 2.5-year-old. She'll be 3 in August as well. And then I just had a baby 6 months ago. So not quite 202, but close to it. And yeah, I've pretty much worked with both kids. Took 3 months off maternity leave for both. And so currently working from home with my baby at home. So that's really nice. And then my husband is here too. And we've been together since high school. So kind of crazy there. Yeah, I know it is. So we've been together like as long as we have been apart, which is so crazy. And then I'm also one of 5 kids, and we all pretty much live in the area. So that's really nice as far as like having help and just having like family support, which is always important.
Yeah, so cool. Well, congratulations. I'm so excited for you with your new baby. And also, like we've chatted about this, but have some similarities. Our first child is like similar in age. And then I am actually pregnant. Hannah just had hers. That's 6 months old. So funny. And then we are also similar in age. I'm 33. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like all of the things. I love it. What was it like telling your team, kind of sharing that news and also preparing folks for when you would take a leave?
Yeah. So with my first daughter, well, actually with both, but my first daughter, the job I was in prior, I quit just like I was pregnant and I wasn't happy. And I just was like, I cannot do one more moment like of this job. And so I quit that with really nothing lined up. I was in the process of interviewing at a couple different places. And I was like, I hope this works out. Like, I just have to do this because it's not a good situation. And so when I started my first job, I was already 3 months pregnant. And so I was scared and nervous, of course. But I guess always just kind of had this sense of like, why would I feel bad about this? Like, we have to have children.
Yeah.
And this is just the situation and this is how it is. And so I never really felt that bad. I was just kind of nervous. And I'm lucky to live in California where there's a lot of laws in place for that. So I think that probably contributed to me not feeling as nervous. But so I let them know. And then with my first, like it was incredible just the way they were so supportive. Like it was a smaller company. And so I told my manager, and then he told his boss, which somehow ended up being like the CFO. And he called me. He actually called me like the next day, and he was like playing with his kids, and he was just like, "We're so excited for you. Like this is like amazing. Blah blah blah. Like we know you're gonna be here for a long time, and it's so quick your maternity leave. So like we just want to let you know we're excited." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like
Oh,
yeah, I never would have expected that. I never had any kind of like expectation, but definitely not that. Especially from a man. Like I think he had 2 or 3 daughters, but even in that situation, like I was just like, whoa, this is awesome. So I had a lot of confidence after that, just feeling like, okay, well, I'm pregnant and this is my situation, and I'll see you in 3 months after I give birth. So that was really nice. And then I actually started a new job again because my last company, as you know, well, actually, I don't even know if they're still happening, but had a bunch of layoffs. And so I had to find a new job and then found out I was pregnant unexpectedly. And so, same situation. I wasn't as far along, so I didn't tell them right away. But once I was kind of like showing or whatever, I let them know. And same thing, they're very supportive. I didn't get a call from the CFO, but it was still like very much like, oh, that's great news, and we're happy for you. And And then actually, it's a little bit different. It's like a contract role within a company. And so even like setting that up was super easy and they were happy and my contract extended. So it worked out. Yeah. So I've
Cool.
been very lucky of just like having that support and not feeling bad about it. But then at the same time, like I never felt bad about it because why should I?
Yeah, honestly, that mentality is so refreshing too, because I feel like there's still a lingering, just, I don't know, like question in the back of women's minds of like, is it safe for me to share? Like,
Yeah.
how are people going to react? And I love that secondary question that you just posed to yourself, like, why would I feel like weird about sharing this? Like it's a normal human function. Everyone on the planet Earth was birthed by
Yeah,
someone else.
exactly. Yeah. We need to continue the life cycle.
Yeah, and it's not a career ender either. It's just, I think it is a lot less taboo these days to talk about the topic and to advocate for parental leave and to have supportive workplaces. And sadly, there are still some businesses that don't. But yeah, that I think half of the battle is like having the mentality and reassuring ourselves, with confidence, like why would I be, scared or hesitant to share? So, also so cool that you had those experiences where you had companies that were supportive and just like with the energy that you put in sharing the news that came back to you. But I did want to mention as well that we had a very similar first scenario too. I actually left a company a few months into pregnancy and was like, this isn't going to work out. I took another job. And then, very similarly, like, I mean, I didn't get a call from the CFO. That's very cool. But
Yeah.
I did have, like, I went through the interview process and I had a hiring manager who was very much like, we're looking for the right person. The timing, like, we can work around this. And obviously, this is like one of the most important things that's going to happen to you in your life. So you're the right person for this role. Like, we know that you're going to be with us and we want to invest in you. So, yeah, so cool that you had that experience as well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The things we didn't get to talk about on our one-on-one meetings, but yeah, similar.
Yes, yes. Didn't mention this earlier, but Hannah was a CSM for, well, we were a client when I was in that past company. Hannah was my customer success manager for the platform we were using, and she was amazing. But also just like, yeah, all the things we didn't get to talk about while we were chatting about the platform and yes, and
Business
community. But
strategies, yeah.
yeah. So cool. So thanks for sharing a little bit about the like first steps of navigating sharing your news. I'm also curious, as far as like mentally preparing. So as you were on leave and there's so much I think coming with your first experience, right? And learning all of the things about being a mother for the first time. And then there's the transition of like, okay, now I have to get ready to go back to work. What was that like for you? Was it, I mean, granted, you had the remote environment to come back to, but I still feel like there's that that moment where you're kind of like, oh, I have to figure out another thing. It's like another phase of this motherhood. And now we're adding the work layer to it. So, can you tell us a little bit about that time period for you? And I guess with both babies, since this one was very recent as well.
Yeah, so with my first, like you said, working from home is just such a blessing. So I didn't have to figure out childcare because my husband worked from home as well. So we're like, okay, we're just gonna make it work. And I was a little bit naive because at 3 months, like they're still taking lots of naps and they're still not really doing much. And like the things that entertain them are very easy, lighthearted and small, and they don't really need me as much other than like eating. And so I was like, okay, yeah, like I could totally do my job and have a baby at home. Like, yeah, that's what it's gonna be. And so, and as we talked about earlier, like it was very much one-on-one calls. So having that kind of job, I was okay with it, like I said. I also tried to be, I guess like same kind of mentality where I didn't feel bad if I needed to feed my baby. Like I could reschedule or like just turn my camera off or whatever. But once she started getting older, I was like, okay, this is actually hard and I don't really have time to, other than my meetings, like get things done. And I'm like running around trying to like get stuff done for work, but also like continue to make my baby a priority. And like by the time they get mobile, like you need to make sure they're safe. Like it's
Yeah.
not safe to be focusing on something else and not them while they're like running around your house. So I guess I was just kind of naive and just was like, oh, we're gonna do this. And so by like 10 months, I think I was like, okay, we need to figure out childcare because I just can't do both. But now looking back and like the situation of the company, like I'm so glad that I prioritize my baby, and I was able to do that versus prioritizing work, I guess, be just with the situation that happened. But so I'm glad I did that. But then with my second, I had to find another job. Like I said, they did layoffs, and so I actually ended up taking like a pay cut and getting a more relaxed role. That was also work from home, which was like pretty much a requirement for me. Like I knew I need to be at home. And so I was like, okay, this job, I know I can have a baby at home with it. Like I'll take the pay cut just for that situation alone. And so I've been able, there's like no meetings really, and definitely don't have to be on camera. So that makes a
That's
huge
good.
difference. Yeah. They
Yeah.
did actually kind of throw a curveball at me, and another girl went on maternity leave, and so I had to take on some of her stuff, which was ended up being some in-person meetings or whatever. But like I said, I have tons of family around that, so that was huge help, and my husband's here too. So I was kind of stressed a little bit, like, oh, wait, like I was like, took this pay cut. I'm ready to have a baby at home and like do my job and kind of like know what I'm doing. And then now it's going to be different. But so far, so good. And then the girl's going to be back from maternity leave, I think in July. So that'll be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing too is you mentioned like with your first daughter that you're glad that you took that time to focus on her, given like the state of the company and how things changed, and you ended up, not being with that job anymore and that company anyway, because yeah, they're like things change dynamically all the time for organizations, and so I think that's something I just want to reiterate for folks that are like worried about their career and how having kids might impact it. It's like kids grow up so fast, like it's such a short time and a short moment, and like there's no guarantees in business anyway. So really, I just like what I'm hearing from you is like it's important to focus on the time that you have with your kids and like that's what's important, and having that mindset shift of like I'm a mother, I'm here now, and also prioritizing too with your second role that you took and second baby is like downshifting slightly, like okay, I can take a pay cut to have a more relaxed environment so that I'm more present for my daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I think just making your priorities straight. I mean, obviously getting the work done and don't making sure you're not slacking at work, but even if that means working like during when they go to bed or like other times that maybe you would have like alone time or whatever, you're gonna do work, but at the same time you're prioritizing your kids. So that's worth it to me.
Yeah, 100%. The job that I'm in now, well, I've had two roles with this company that I'm with now, but I also shifted companies around the same
Yeah.
time you did. Like we're it's very, yeah, layoffs are abounding, but yeah, there was like transition and I ended up in a role I'm really excited about. But yeah, I've had two different roles with this company, like I mentioned, and just something that I noticed and the reason why I decided to shift here was because the hiring manager said like we're very parent friendly. Like most of us are working parents on the team. I don't care when you work, just as long as the work gets done, So it's like if I'm working at, in the wee hours of the night or like during nap time, like that's totally okay. I mean, granted, like my kid goes to preschool now. He's old enough to do that. But yeah, with the baby and whatnot, that was something that was top of mind for me having navigated a leave before with remote work. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
totally priority. Awesome. So, another question, kind of follow up to that, is as far as professional success and what you envisioned your career to be like, has that shifted for you? And like the level of intensity you place on professional success, or even like in this time period now for you?
I mean, I definitely would say so. Like I said, I took that pay cut, and the role is a bit more stagnant, I guess you could say. So, but I've never been one to be like, my career is my life, and this is like, which is, I guess, bad to say because I've also never really been one to be like, I want to be a mom, and being a mom is like what I'm gonna do with my life or what I'm. So I don't know. I just kind of, I guess, not thought about it, and then just had it happen the way it has happened, which I guess has worked out in my favor. But so yeah, I guess not my short answer to that.
Yeah, and also that I think that's a refreshing place to be too, because if you're so tied to one or the other, like, oh, I'm, hell bent on like having this career and this, the picture of happiness is if I like am a VP at age, 38 or whatever people want to be, that, that's great, like have goals, but at the same time, I don't think getting there is really like gonna make someone happy versus like also I think too if someone wants to be a stay-at-home mom and that's all they've ever wanted to be in their life, that's incredible. But at the same time, we hear a lot about women who devote their lives to being mothers, and then when the kids leave the house, they like feel a little bit lost, maybe because they didn't pick up other hobbies or develop relationships outside of the home. And so just having that mentality of like not being tied to either extreme,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, kind of in the middle.
Yeah. And that's good. That's a good place to be. Okay, cool. So also shifting gears a little bit as far as like work-life balance, we've talked a little bit about like juggling throughout the workday, but what does that picture look like for you evolving as a parent? And then also, like with your family you mentioned that's close by or partner, like, what do those dynamics look like and how has that changed with, from one to two kids, from zero to one?
Yeah, I would say with, like I keep saying is working from home has like been such a game changer and just being available in that way. The daycare is literally like across the street. And so that makes a huge difference. And yeah, being able to be home. The one thing I'll say is when I was working in tech, I do feel like they prioritized like work-life balance a bit more with us having time off. Like both my jobs had like that unlimited time off structure. And so
Nice.
like say if I wanted to take a trip, I could do it. Or if my kid was sick, I could just take the day off and not have to worry about, working while they're home or even just like if I wanted to take a day off just to have to myself, something like that. Like I definitely could, and I felt like I could. In my current role, I don't have that situation,
Hmm.
so that's a bit tough. But then I just work and have them home if necessary, or I'll just take the day off unpaid, which is, of course, like a luxury that we have as a family, but not everyone can do that. So I totally get that. But I try not to do that. So I think that's important, just kind of feeling like if I need time off, I can have it. So that's something I do miss. But for the most part, just yeah, having the support nearby, working from home, and yeah, having my husband here with me. And just if I want my kids home, I can have them home.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. And just like that kind of leads me into another question for you as well. I think you mentioned earlier to kind of having the realization of like it's okay to turn off my camera or it's okay to like feed my baby at certain times of the day. And just like you just mentioned, it's okay to take a day unpaid if I need to with my current job, and great with companies that are supportive and have flexible time off too. Yeah, we talked a little bit about some of the boundaries you set too, as far as like it's okay to feed my baby at certain times of the day, or like you mentioned, it's okay to take a day unpaid or take time off that's available. When did that click for you as far as like I can intuitively set the boundaries that I need and like this is all right?
So my first job or my first baby, I was working for a company that was based in Canada. And so everyone other than like me and maybe one other person was in Canada. And so they get 12 months maternity leave. And so when I came back after 3 months, I kind of just had this mentality of like, well, like I could be gone for 12 months, but I'm here. Everyone else got 12 months, so I'm not going to feel bad when I have to feed my baby when they're hungry, when everyone else could just do this on their own time. So I just kind of ran with that. And I know that's like very different than probably most people's situation, obviously, living in the US. But it helped me just kind of set that boundary of like, okay, well, this is what it is. I know you guys understand that because you get 12 months off, and this is what I have to do. And so that was helpful with my first, just like kind of like leaving that behind and setting that boundary. And then with my second, I think I mentioned, but we just I don't really have that many meetings. If I do, cameras are off. And so that kind of helps me relax. And even if I have to like speak, I can just write it in the chat and just say, sorry, 1 second, and then just move on from there. Yeah, I feel like going in with my first, having that mentality of just like, this is how it's supposed to be. They live off of your body for a year. Like, what are we supposed to do other than feed them and just take the time?
Yeah, just continue to feel like your approach is just really refreshing. It's like it's no nonsense, It's like this is how babies grow up. Like this is how people like are, how they come into the world. Like why are we questioning these things? There's really no excuse for people to question it. It's just, we're all professionals here, and it's incredible what is happening that women are able to be mothers and also in the workplace. And so, yeah, I love that. But I also hear, okay, so there's this term, like mom guilt that gets thrown around. And I kind of hate the term because it's like, I don't really feel guilty like being a mom or like working, but it's more like I feel like it's like an awareness, like a kind of like a sixth sense or whatever, if you will, where it's like I'm more aware that when I am working, I'm focused on those things, and it's time that, maybe is being taken away from me being with my kids, and vice versa. Like sometimes when I'm with my kids or kids, child, right? But I'm like, I will have kids. Sometimes when I'm with my son, it's like, my head can be somewhere else and I can be stressed about a project that's due the next day or something like that, or a big meeting. And I kind of feel it's not even like guilt. It's just like an awareness of, because I'm here with him, I have, like I'm going to need to work late tonight or something. And I think it happens both ways. It's like, but I hear about the mom guilt all the time where people are just like, it never goes away. You always feel bad about something. And I hate that for us.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, but I'm curious if that, like, how you feel about that, if that's something that comes up for you, if there's more of an awareness of, this is another layer of life that I haven't experienced before, and because of that, like, I'm more aware of where my time is being spent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any mom that hasn't experienced that in some way or another. And yeah, I guess I just kind of try and tell myself different things that help. Like I feel like I saw something once that was like, if you're a working mom, like don't feel bad because you're showing your child like what it's like to work, and especially like as a woman in the companies that primarily are like mainly like male dominated, things like that. So you are kind of showing them that you can do both. And I also saw something, I'm like trying to think of how it was said that it doesn't sound offensive. Because at first, when I heard it, I was like, oh, that's kind of, I don't like that. But when I think about it more, I'm like, oh, that's kind of true. But it was like, you would never just want your kids' only ambition to like only be a mom, I guess. Like you said, that I guess that is for some people, but then they find themselves like needing hobbies or like kind of losing themselves. And so, like, feeling like you're more than that, because that's probably what you would want for your kids. Like, you want your kids to be ambitious, you want them to like make a career for themselves, you want them to like do all these great things. And so, I think being a working mom is a great thing, and you can show them that like that's capable too. And so that kind like just kind of telling myself that, but also like I'm telling myself that when I'm feeling that way. So I still feel it, but little things like that kind of help me with it a little bit. And then I also feel like at least with like them in daycare, like I could never stimulate them the way that like a daycare could. With their friends and learning, like I feel so happy to send my kid to daycare because she comes home and like is singing and counting and like doing all these crazy things, and I'm just like, oh my God, that's awesome. Like I love that you come home and do that, and I know that you're getting fulfilled in that way where I probably couldn't unless I scheduled like a play day every single day and like, planned your whole life around you and didn't do anything for myself. So I'm happy with daycare. I'm a very big daycare advocate. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting you mentioned that too, because there was definitely a phase for me with my first where I just noticed where we had hired some in-home care for a little bit because, it hit that mark where he was like moving around the house, and I like I couldn't keep up with him. He wasn't wrapped around me anymore, and yeah, all of the things. And then, the in-home care for a little while was great, but then it just got to the point where it was like he needs socialization. Like this is,
Yeah.
he's ready for friends. Like he needs a life. He needs to be learning other things than like this provider can provide here in the home, even though they're going to the park and she's doing activities with him and it's so amazing to have him close by. It's like he's old enough now that he can grow. And so huge proponent of that was like, yeah, there's that click that happens where it's like they need hobbies. Yeah.
Yeah, they need friends, and it's so cute when they have friends and they talk about their friends, or when you pick them up and like the little friends are talking, and it's just like, oh my God, this is like the sweetest thing.
Yes. Yes. He has a best friend that he always like waves to, and they say bye to each other like 5 times before.
So
It's like,
yes, oh my gosh,
yes.
that's so funny. It's so cute.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about like your experiences navigating pregnancy, postpartum, coming back to work, all those things like setting boundaries. I'm also curious if anything has surprised you in working motherhood that you just like I did not expect this. This is like kind of out of the blue. Has there been any curveballs that you were like, wow, I really like I wasn't ready for this, or like this is really cool? Any surprises?
So being pregnant and working from home was, I can't believe people have to go into the office and be pregnant. Like, especially in that first trimester was wild to me. And like, I remember thinking like, I can't believe more people don't complain. Like, this is really hard. It's like, I know some people don't get sick, but I think most people do. And just like having to be sick or just feeling so tired and not being in like your home and feeling like as comfortable as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like so thankful to be at home because I couldn't believe it. Like I was like thinking back, if COVID never happened, like I would be in the office probably and having to experience this. And I had friends who had to do that and I felt so bad. So that was probably one of the most surprising things, just being pregnant and being like, oh my God, like thank God I'm home right now. Like I don't feel good.
Oh yeah, 100%. No, that's funny you brought that up because that was like one of the reasons why I switched jobs with my first is because I was like in a mostly in-person role. I worked like a day a week from home, but
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, not happening anymore.
My goodness. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And like, yeah, thinking about all the moms that have done that, like it was so normal. I'm like, yikes. Like, no.
Yes. And you talked about like flexibility that you have had experienced support, things like that. So comparatively with the roles that you've had and have, and also maybe like policies that you feel like you haven't experienced but would be amazing. What's your like ideal workplace policy or support culture for working parents?
I think, I mean, I've been so lucky. Both my jobs with my kids have been very much like supportive, like as I've mentioned. So just making that known, like I've had both my bosses say, like, if you need to take time, you can, or if you need to have your baby on camera or whatever, you can. Just make sure the work's getting done. And then also seeing like other people like just kind of modeling what you see. So like even my team members will be like, I have to pick up my kid at this time. Sorry, I can't make it. Or like offline right now, driving to do this or something for my kid. So I think just kind of making it known and setting that precedence is important. And then also, like I mentioned before, having the time off, like I just can't believe not having like unlimited time off is so crazy to me because for most of my career, that's just how it has been. So that's a little bit different right now, but navigating that, and it's not a huge deal, of course, but I think if I'm gonna have like a perfect situation, that would be part of it.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. And as we are closing here, what gives you hope for working parents?
I think that a lot of things have been changing. So I'm gonna look at my notes. Okay, yeah. So I feel like more places and states are being open to at least even providing maternity leave or extending it. I know a lot of like dads get paternity leave now on like 6 weeks, which is awesome. Like I don't think that was like the case before. And so that's really helpful. And then I think just, well, actually, sorry, this is like a tangent that I'm just thinking of now, but I do feel like a lot of people are having kids later in life. So having that like established career before going into becoming a mother might give people a little bit more confidence of coming back to work versus like I'm just starting out, now I'm leaving. Now I'm trying to come back, but people have already still been doing this. Men, have been able to continue working. I took a break, like that kind of stuff. So I feel like even having kids a little bit later is helpful and hopeful because you're more established in your role and yeah, just more confident when you come back. And so I think those things make me hopeful. And then again, just companies being more open to supporting moms and even just parents in general.
Yeah,
And working from
absolutely.
home. Can't say it enough.
Yes, remote work.
Yeah, literally.
Yes.
It's life.
Yeah, if we could just, I mean, I guess we could replace the entire episode with just two words, remote work, and
Yeah, that's my secret.
that would be sufficient. Yes. No, I wholeheartedly agree. There are many days where I just am like, yeah, I couldn't do this if I wasn't working from home. Yeah, there's just so much flexibility and support there. But also, I love that you brought up the paternity leave and having it be like, a lot of companies and policies are changing to reword where it's parental leave, right? It's like not just the one who births the baby, right? So it's not just the mom that gets the time off, but it's also the dad. And it's important that he takes that so that not only like he's able to support mom and baby, but also so it's an example for other folks to take that leave. Because I think that example is huge and what the ripple effect continues, right, throughout the workplace. And people see other people taking the leave and like, oh, it's okay to do that.
Yeah, and I think what's nice about that is you get like a year to take it. So you have like
Yeah.
much more time to kind of like extend your leave. And if you do have to go back in, like you have a little bit more time with your baby at home until maybe you have to figure something out.
Yeah, 100%. And then just a final question for you. If you could leave, a fellow working mom with a piece of advice, maybe she's just coming back from leave or she's about to go on leave, just another, kind of mother in the trenches, what would you say to that person who's listening?
Yeah, I would say don't feel bad for prioritizing your children. I think you'll never regret that, and you would definitely regret it if you didn't. And then, yeah, don't feel bad about working at the same time. Like you're doing the best for your family, and if that's how it works, then that's just what it is. So I think just having that mentality of prioritizing, but also knowing that you're doing your best and feeling good about that.
Words to live by. I feel like thanks so much for having such a practical approach to it all. Again, I think that sometimes there's nerves involved of like, how do I approach this life change? But it's like, it's totally normal. And it's also one of the most important things that you'll ever do. Like, yes, practicality is huge, but I'm so glad that we got to have you on the episode today. And thank you for sharing a little bit more about your experience, Hannah.
Of course, thank you for having me. I love it.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Birth at Work. If our topic resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Connect with me on social or via email. Your experiences and questions help shape future episodes. Remember, you're not alone in this journey of balancing career and family. Every challenge you're facing, someone else has navigated too, and every victory you celebrate, big or small, deserves to be recognized. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review. It helps other working parents find these conversations when they need them the most. And if you know someone who could benefit from hearing these stories, please share this episode with them. Until next time, remember, you don't have to choose between your career dreams and your family dreams. You're already proving that every day. Thanks for listening to Birth at Work. I'm Chrislyn Powell, and I'll see you next time.